All right, folks, welcome to another date on the Journalist Hangout Show. It's a Friday. I'm Citizen Jones. Now, today on the program, APC National Working Committee, NWC, dares Buhari, threatens court action over dissolution. Tinubu mourns former Oyo Governor Ajimobi. He says Nigeria has lost an outstanding statesman. Then this, Nigeria's internet fraudster Hushpuppi and his gang face long term in Dubai for defrauding over 1.9 million, I should say 19 million people, of some 168 billion naira. And later on this one, Liverpool are English Premiership champions for the first time since 30 years. Let me report I'm hanging out with Solomon Ajuziogu, while Mayor Akinpelu will join us via Skype. Solo, I greet you. Good evening.
Good evening, Citizen. It's nice to be on the show today.
Mayor, waiting to join or hook up with you. So the team is ready. I hope you are. Okay then, straight to business. The ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, may be said to be swaying between the devil and the deep blue sea. Sacked members of the National Working Committee, NWC, technically the brain box of the party, are daring the President Nuhammadu Buhari, over the disbandment of the committee and may seek redress in court after consultations. Now, the 18-member body led by Hilad Etta says Mr. President's action negates Article 25B of the party constitution, which precludes the Deputy National Secretary of the party, Victor Giadom, from convening a well-attended National Executive Council or committee meeting. Only the national chairman or the NWC may convene a NEC meeting. In politics, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. I'm sure you've heard that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
The way the whole thing is unfolding in APC is a bit scary, and it has led to a lot of people having to come up with certain analysis. And sometimes I think that some of the analysis I have seen in public space, some of them border on some bias, some excitement, unnecessary excitement, some emotions.
You should expect that.
Well, so far, I think that the opposition hasn't been up to the task of, being a proper opposition so far to the APC. And so the only thing they seem to be able to do is rejoice when the APC has a problem like this. But having said that, I'm a bit flustered by the decisions that are coming left, right, and center, court cases, the president accepting to attend the NEC meeting called in 24 hours, by a claimant to the chairmanship of the party. Now, if the members of NEC, as it were, accept to attend a meeting, 24 hours, attend a meeting in 24 hours, that negates the constitution of the party itself. Because first and foremost, for you to have an emergency or extraordinary NEC meeting, you have to give a 7-day notice. For you to attend a statutory meeting, which is quarterly, you have 14-day notice. So you see, I'm asking myself, okay, if these guys, if the NWC people make good their threat to go to court, that will be a sort of embarrassment for the APC with national proportion because the president is involved.
Yeah. I said at the beginning you were not swayed, that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. In politics, we talk about interest, nothing more, Again, are you looking at the APC rather as a party that wants to self-destruct at this point in time?
I don't think so, but then
the president made allusions to that in his broadcast.
For the sake of the analysis, let's go back to the beginning, the very beginning of the party. I always talk about the party is made up of a group of people or a group of blocks known first and foremost as the originals. The originals were mean we had ACN, the old ACN, the old CPC bloc.
ANPP.
Then you have elements of the ANPP.
And the APGA.
APGA APGA. Then later came on the new PDP, a faction of the PDP, which pulled out. We had Atiku Abubakar, we had Bukola Saraki, and the rest of them, Amechi and co, who just moved into merged, and then the APC. APC as a party emerged. So you had these
looked solid at the beginning.
Well, for the purpose that they came together, it was solid.
Interest.
It was solid. The interest was to gain power. And that is, first and foremost, the basis of politics. You aggregate yourselves for the purpose of getting power. And then power itself is a tool to making a level of impact on the lives of the people. Whether you eventually make use of power for its utility to better the lot of the people is another thing. But importantly, you have to play the politics because it is the mechanism for getting access to power. So what we have in the APC at the moment is a struggle within these power blocks. Now, not just the parties that came together to form the APC, you also have different blocks within the party. Now, the current crisis on the face value is coming from the South-South. This is a South-South struggle first and foremost because the epicenter of the struggle for the soul of the party started in Rivers, from Rivers to Edo State. So we're talking about a South-South situation because in the South-South, there are certain individuals within the party from the South-South bloc that are opposed to the national chairman. Now, by inference, also opposed to a particular bloc within the party. So it's a South-South problem, exploding primarily at the moment into a national issue for the party.
They talk about a consensus, and so this is the time you expect a consensus to come into play.
Well, the thing is this, at some point, consensus became the buzzword. And in an attempt to get the consensus, I think that one of the problems they've had is that they've abused a bit of protocol, which is now hurting the party. The abuse of protocol here was the fact that Victor Giadom, the man who is claiming to be the chairman at the moment, who is armed with a court order to that effect, who happened to have been the deputy national chairman, deputy national secretary of the party, had left to go run for the governorship of Rivers State. By law and by the provisions of the constitution of the party, and of course by law too, you have to resign your position to go contest as a deputy governor. Now the thing is this, the party has to accept that and ratify. Now even if the party wants you to come back, then they either leave the position vacant or appoint somebody else there and then later find another position for you. So we had a situation also where the chairman of the party at that time decided to carry out a waiver. He's also empowered by Article 31 of the party's constitution to use the power of a waiver to say, okay, while you are contesting, you can still double as the deputy national secretary. And so if he had known, it was in the spirit of reconciliation because of certain other issues within the party that he did that the party chairman did that. If he had known that that breach of protocol, as it were, or rather, would have consequences.
In politics, you put the last thing first, and so on. I don't know how it works for them, but let's look at the two prominent sores here: Edo, Ondo State. First, Edo.
Well, at the moment, the Ondo one doesn't seem to be ticking so hard, but the Edo one is right before us. But I think that certain issues have been sorted out in Edo. The former APC governor in the state has defected to PDP, has picked the ticket of the PDP to contest that election.
Against the odds?
Has picked the ticket, and so the APC has a clear course to field her own candidate for the elections. And so it's all set as far as I'm concerned, whether Adams Oshomole is the subsisting chairman or not. APC has a candidate. Everybody within the
show
party,
goes on.
the show goes on there, and so they are heading to the elections with a candidate. I also think that the Gyadom also acted in a bit of error. You don't go back. A river that flows forward does not go back to its source.
Yeah.
You know, you don't flow back to your source. You flow out of it. Having taken that decision
Otherwise,
to join,
flooding comes.
Exactly. So having taken the decision to leave the party, trying to nullify the primaries that produced this Yamu was in itself a gymnastic dance that was unnecessary. So I think the course is clear now for us to see what's going to happen. Every other thing that would happen at that election, whatever we say now, is a point of conjecture, assumptions of what the outcomes will be.
Let's open a little window and view Ondo State. Very interesting. At a point, the deputy governor couldn't be allowed to leave his premises and blah, 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 and so on.
Well, it's a natural thing that happens. It's a very difficult call for you to be in a party as a governor, and then your deputy governor is from another party when both of you ran on the same ticket.
How does it work?
I don't understand how that works. But there's been a precedence to that because at some point in 2007, the vice president contested on the platform of the ACN and the president was of the PDP extraction. It's a bit funny, and sometimes I wonder how we navigate around all of these things. But it's a reflection of the development of our politics.
Sometimes also, Solomon, we talk about a Nigerian type democracy. Have you heard any such thing?
Well, the thing is this, democracy is also contextual. Okay, so would you say that Iran is not particularly democratic? No.
Is it democratic?
Well, now let's look at it this way, that the Iranians, every 5 years or so, go to the polls in a general election. They elect a president. They choose a president in an election that is open and voted for by everybody. Now, but then the different way of approach, the way the government is structured in Iran, for instance, is that there is a grand religious council headed by the Ayatollah. Now, that is their own definition of the way they want to run their democracy.
Good.
So we need to put certain things in context.
All right, Solomon, we have company, and Mayor Akikbelu is joining us. Mayor, greetings to you. How do you do?
I'm very good, thank you.
Yeah, Mayor, APC on the mind.
Yeah, what is happening in APC is very interesting because it is power play between two groups within the party. And it seems one of the groups will be able to convince, especially the governors group, will be able to convince the president to be on their side. And that is the advantage that they have because with the decisions that were taken by the National Executive Council of the party, Oshiomhole and its allies at the National Working Committee have been sidelined. Not completely, but it seems Oshiomhole is gone.
Yeah, that's in your estimation.
Yes, that's what I think.
Okay, so what we have on the floor, how messy do you think it is not?
Of course, it is very messy because, like I said, it is power play. You know, it started during the last election, actually. There are some governors that were aggrieved and they felt that Oshiomhole did not support their cause. And because of that, they've always been fighting Oshiomhole. You remember that there was a time the National Working Committee tried to remove him and he survived it. You know, but it is the governors that were the arrowhead, especially the chairman of the Governors Forum. So recently it became very messy when we were looking at the Edo State, the things that led to the primaries and all that. And like I said, the governors were able to convince the president to be on their side. And when the president took the decision that the NEC meeting should go on at the villa, that was the coup de grace.
Okay, so where do we go from here? Needless to say that both major parties, the PDP and the APC, have their candidates in Edo State as we sit here.
Yes, it's very interesting because it's just a reverse case. The candidate of APC in the last election is now the candidate of PDP, and the candidate of PDP is now the candidate of APC. I think it will be very interesting. I think it's right now. I think it's a 50-50 thing. You know, it can go either way, but it can go either way. It's a 50-50 thing now. But what I see in the foreseeable future is that the new committee, the caretaker committee, will do a mini convention where another chairman will be elected, then other officers. And I think between now and that time, there will be like a negotiation between the two contending forces. You know, it's going to be like a give and take. Because Oshiomhole also has very powerful backers. So whether the party likes it or not, they have to carry Oshiomhole and his group along. So what I foresee is that there will be like a negotiation, but definitely it is almost impossible for Oshiomhole to come back as chairman.
All right, Mayor, you know, just before we fly to Ondo, let's quickly talk about the role of Mr. President as father figure here. You think there'll be due deference to him? Will they defer to him?
I think they should, because in the presidential system of government, especially as it's practiced in Nigeria, the Mr. President is very powerful. Even when people don't like what is going on, it is very difficult for you to confront the president within the Nigerian scenario. You know, so that is the key. Because when the governors have been trying to put Oshiomhole in check, and they were not successful, because the Oshiomhole controls the National Working Committee, and the NWC takes most of the decisions within the party. So it was because they could not achieve their aim that they went to Mr. President. For whatever reason, they were able to convince him. And I think maybe the president looked at it from the point of view that for the party not to disintegrate, it's important for them to be able to reach a compromise. And the compromise is to say that given what is happening, Oshiomhole's position is not tenable. There's need for a new chairman to be able to bring together the contending forces. And the only way you can do that is to dissolve the National Working Committee and then do another convention, because the convention statutory that has the power to elect officials of the party. So I think what Mr. President has done is to say, let me save the party. Because you know, if Mr. President has gotten involved before now, the crisis will not reach this point. Okay. Because at the time that the Mr. President was supposed to intervene and try to show leadership, he was aloof and allowed the problem to fester. But now that he has decided to say, okay, let us have a mini convention, let us try to bring together, because you see, one of the instructions was that they should withdraw all the cases in court. Okay. And the members of the National Working Committee are threatening to go to court. I don't think they will do that.
All right, thank you. Appears we cannot go to Ondo, but I know you have also Ondo on your mind. Thank you. Okay. All right, then, you know, correspondent Abida Lawal is standing by in Abuja for an insight into the crisis. And so I'd say, good evening to you, Abida. How do you do?
Very well.
Yeah, what can you tell us?
Well, the issue between the dissolved NWC is the fact that the threat that came with the fact that they were dissolved yesterday after the NEC meeting gave rise to the call for taking the case to court. And this is on the grounds of the locus of Mr. Victor Giadom being able to call for a NEC meeting, and it was agreed upon by President Nuhammadu Buhari. That is exactly the basis for which they are going to court for.
Yeah, as journalists, we are not given to taking sides, but I'm sure in your heart of hearts, you are watching the ship. Is it going in the right direction, Abida?
Well, Well, the president has spoken. One would expect that all sides maintain their ground for now, pending when all ratifications take place, where Mr. Memala Buni weighed in and tried to pacify both warring sides, especially for Edo and also Ondo State, where the party has some pockets of issues and the election is coming up as well. So one would expect that after that yesterday's pronouncement, there won't be any issue going forward. But surprisingly, some NWC members said they are going to court. But in the coming days, I assure you, we got a loop that in the coming days, some NWC members will withdraw from that position.
All right. Quickly, did you speak with anybody at all?
Yes, we did. Earlier today, some NWC members made known that they have they resolved that going forward they will work with what the party says instead of going to court. But some are of the opinion that they have a case in court.
All right. We thank you very kindly for your time. Thank you. Yeah, Solomon, in taking this home, the president, as the middleman, as the father figure, has stepped in, and so you expect deference on all sides. Withdraw cases from court.
I think we
do you see that happening?
I think we are beginning to see a bit of calm, and that's probably what the president wanted to achieve. If the point of battle is at the NWC, okay, let's ask the NWC to rest. Let's take the decisions here. Let's face the elections coming up, and then let's have a caretaker committee that will set up, a convention. Now, my problem is the protocol. Every time, one of the things we have seen in experience that every time you do not follow due process and you do not follow the laid down protocol, it comes back somehow, somewhere to bite you. Because if the party's constitution says 7 days before an emergency NEC meeting, 14 days before a quarterly meeting, you do not observe that, and then you go ahead. On what legitimate ground have you taken certain decisions? That's what I keep asking. And so if somebody decides to break ranks and decide to go to court, which of course we do not expect people to do, we do not expect anybody to do that because the president has spoken. So if somebody, that's something, you must always give room for that margin of error. If somebody decides that, okay, I'm breaking rank, I'm going to court because due process has not been followed. Yeah. What is the legitimate ground for those decisions?
Well, Solomon, these inexactitudes will continue. And I don't know if it puzzles you as it does me when people say, oh, now only God will solve our problem. At this point, I'm wondering what God will do. Okay, then, let's go to the next story. The high wire speculation about the state of health of the immediate past governor of Oyo State, Senator Abiola Ajimobi, has ended. The 70-year-old Ajimobi was pronounced dead on Thursday after he had been on treatment from complications arising from COVID-19. The national leader of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Senator Bola Tinubu, condoled with the government and people of Oyo State over the demise of the party stalwart. The state and the whole country have lost an outstanding statesman. The president and leaders around the country have eulogized him. We'll miss him. Solomon.
Wow. Well, the man fondly called in some quarters as a constituted authority.
I can't forget that he broke the jinx in Oyo, the so-called second-term jinx.
No man is good enough to rule us twice.
Oh, come on.
But then, of course, Oyo State shared that with Kano State at some point.
Yeah, at a point,
But that's history now because we've had people who did that. And to imagine that two big people in Oyo State, the governor had it, survived, but the former governor didn't. There is very little I want to say, but that it's another pointer that this is real.
Solomon, say it in English. COVID-19 is real.
Is real.
Yeah.
It's scary, and people shouldn't think that this is a small fry issue. coronavirus is real. The numbers are going up. I'm scared, you know, every time I'm at home and I look at the way people move around and the way we treat it as if it does not exist. And my worry is that at the behavioral level, we haven't marshaled the resources and the capacity to influence behavioral change. While we are opening up the economy, because we cannot over a very long time keep on locking down, because we haven't got the capabilities, as it were, at the moment, then we need to rack up what we call behavioral change, you know, capacity. Because what we need to do is to get people to change their habits, their lifestyle, to take this thing seriously. And that's a whole lot of work, and you need real professionals to be able to put this together, because over time you require first expertly put together messages, and then you require a period of time. So we are talking about the language use in proportion to the time frame to be able to force change.
You know, you speak like a teacher. I rather love it. Now, let's turn things over to our colleague, Mayor Akinpelu. Mayor, again, welcome back. Last week, it was speculated that Senator Ajimobi had gone, and it gained traction in the media and across the country. Sometimes you ask the question, why do we do this?
Yeah, I think what happened then was that, you know, he had been in the hospital, first cardiology consultants for about 18, 19 days at that time. So he had a lungs operation, and when he had a lungs operation, he was still on machine lab support, and that is why the rumor went out. The story went out that he was dead, but it was technically alive at the time, but he was on support machine, and it's so sad because ex-governor Ajimobi is somebody who I think contributed a lot to the growth of Oyo State. In my estimation, is one of the best governors that ruled that state. It's no wonder that he did what he called kosheleri to be able to get his the second term. Yeah. And it's so ironic that he did just not too long ago, he did an interview where he said he prayed to God that he wanted to live to just be 70. That when he was 40 years, he was praying that if God could permit him to live up to 70, he will be grateful and he would think that would be enough. But that when he now, at 70, because he was 70 in December, and that when he started enjoying things, he now started praying to God to say he wants to live more than that. And he actually died at 70. And not only that, it was somebody who did a video. There was a video that I saw where he thanked members of the front lines, those who are in the front line of fighting COVID-19. And according to his aides, he took a lot of precautions against, because he would wear masks, try to make sure that people wash machines and people wash their hands before, follow all the due protocol. And unfortunately, he still got infected with COVID-19. And it was quite serious because one of the problems is that Alanda had underlying conditions which brought about some complications. In fact, the rumor me had it that there was a time that his case was so serious and they needed some drugs. They had to send a private jet to UK to get those drugs. So the hospital did the best they could do, and it's so sad because when, you know, just before the operation, the lungs operation that he had last week, he came out from coma. He was in coma for a long time. He came out of the coma but was very weak because we got the information that he had coming out of the coma. But eventually there was complications concerning his lungs, and they had to do that operation, and he didn't survive it.
All right, let's take the matter of the late Senator Ajimobi home. Solomon, he could have asked to be 100, but again, the biblical 70, he got. So he lived a lot in his time.
Yes.
And when the name Ajimobi came up in the APC imbroglio, something told me, oh, the man has made it.
Yeah, I think that first and foremost, for the period that he lived, he accomplished great deeds. I mean, he was a senator, he was a governor, he was a leading party man. He impacted lives, you know. So what else would you wish for? I mean, he enjoyed life to the fullest. He wished he could do more. But I'm thinking about something, the power of the tongue as well, because Mayor Akinpelu made allusion to that video, that recorded video, and I think about the power of the tongue and the things we say, the context in which we say them, when it was said. Even though he came on later to say, I wish it was longer, perhaps the record was already sealed about what was asked for before.
The first stroke is half the battle.
It seems so.
Okay. We'll rest the story here, but may God rest him. At the same time, it's said, if you don't live for a long time, leave something that people will talk about in a long time. Okay, then, our next story. You know, every great fraudster has one liability, and this is the certainty that his trickery is too clever to be detected. Internet conman Hushpuppi, whose real name is Raymond Igbalode, knows his flamboyant lifestyle was too good to be real, and that every man meets his Waterloo at last. Hushpuppi was reportedly arrested alongside his partner in crime, Mr. Woodbury, by the FBI on the grounds of being internet fraudsters. He runs the risk of a long jail term in Dubai. Things gained through fraud they don't last.
Well,
ask. You know, some names come to mind here. You know.
Well, it's not just the fraudsters. Scamming is a crime. Kidnapping is a crime. So you remember Evans, the kidnapper. My only problem with this is that Hushpuppi, whatever he's called, and his acolytes, is just a tiny bit of a subculture that is running right underneath that people haven't paid attention to. And there seems to be a glorification of this subculture and these lifestyles by a certain group of young people around this country, maybe. Those two guys are just one. Remember that before Hushpuppi, there was one Monfa, whatever, you know, and all of that. Monfa, you know. And there are lots of them like that. And the funny thing is that when you look at the internet-enabled media, you see them all over the place. You see them flaunting all of these things they've got, and you're amazed. And the first question I ask is, okay, what is the means of income of this young man? What is the means of income of this young woman? Sometimes when a lady is involved, when you ask questions, a friend of mine used to say, each time you raise this issue, if you raise it in public, they are going to ask you, you are jealous.
Which one be your own?
You know, that sort of thing. So, and so you have a whole lot of these people doing this because we have gotten to a point where there is what I call money worship.
Yeah.
You hear slangs on the street. All these raking where they rake, how much they your account?
You know, Solomon, but when they assume celebrity status, it worries me. It worries me.
I hate the word celebrity status. I actually hate the word. I hate the label. And I do not think it's appropriate. And sometimes in the media, we lend legitimacy to some of these things the way we use some of the labels in the media. What is celebrity about someone who is doing something and achieving great things at it? For instance, you call you a media celebrity, but the truth of the matter is that you are not a celebrity. You are working. So if Two-Face Idibia is singing and his songs are all over the place, he's not a celebrity. He is getting the reward for the hard work he's putting in. So sometimes I look at some of the words and I'm asking myself, but that's exactly what is supposed to happen if Two-Face Idibia is singing good songs.
Now let's go to our colleague again, Mayor Akinpelu. sometimes I wonder what crosses your mind when you run into a story about your quote-unquote Hushpuppi.
Yeah, Hushpuppi is the Hushpuppi's case is the tragedy of the situation we find ourselves. Our youth don't want to do legitimate work because they've seen their leaders steal government funds, do things that are not right. They've seen the society acknowledge those without means of livelihood, give them chieftaincy titles, and make them the leaders of the community. So we have lost our values. People don't believe in hard work anymore. You will see parents who actively support their kids to do yahoo yahoo, and they feel proud. So it is just not how you make money, just make money. So our young people, instead of doing what we used to do, go to school, study hard, try to get a good job, build a career, people don't want to do that anymore. They just want to be on their laptop and get money. And these people make ridiculous amounts of money. I can tell you for free that Hushpuppi is not the biggest fraudster in Dubai.
No, nobody
there are
said
a lot
so,
of Nigerians that are richer than Hushpuppi in Dubai, because Dubai seems to be the center for Nigeria, for fraudsters. You know, when they have this network, when they get the money from abroad, they will route it through Lebanon. It is the people in Lebanon that will help them to clean up the money and then transfer the money back to them into different accounts. So you see a lot of young people making the kind of money that is ridiculous. But it is a statement of fact that when you do crime, you must be ready to do the time, because ultimately, you cannot win. So you can only do, no matter how brilliant you are as a fraudster, you will be caught out one time.
And so it begs the question of, if you know that your top will be blown, why go into it? So what's smart about that? And
why they are going? Why they are going into it? That's what I've explained. Why they are doing that is that we have a society that have lost its values. You know, before in this country, if you come home and you start spending money that you did not earn legitimately, your parents will be embarrassed. The community will not accept you. If you go in sometime in this country, when you go to jail and you come back, you have ruined the family name. Even members of the family will feel insulted and disgraced. But now nobody cares how you make money. You will see somebody yesterday that didn't have any job, just like Hushpuppi was just like a regular guy that didn't have anything. And then suddenly he came and started spending billion, buying Rolls Royce, buying things, buying Gucci. He stays in an apartment very close to Dubai Mall. So that are like that. And because the society accepts them, he has a lot of followers on Instagram. Everybody thinks it's happening, and people believe that he's so successful because we are in a society that does not value hard work.
Mayor, let me quickly rub this in. Give me a 30-seconder if you can in reaction. But the media also have to publicize them. That's my trouble. And celebrity magazines and so on and so on.
No. Okay. It is the job of the media to report news. Whether somebody is it's your duty to announce that this guy is doing things and they cannot account for things. But you cannot say because Hushpuppi, you don't like what he's doing, you will not report it. No. All right. As a reporter, it's your duty to report anything that is news. And when you see his lifestyle, he buys, he has a written letter from Gucci because then he moves to another designer, and it's huge. So it's news. Ultimately, news. That is why when he was arrested, they bust people every time. But because of the profile that he has created and the things that he has created, the problem that he has created around himself, that's why it became a major news. Even Dubai released it on their own handle because it's a major news to them. If you remember, he was arrested along with another 11 people. Because that thing is a syndicate. You can't do it alone. You have to, like I explained, there are a lot of people who, because what they do is to intercept website, get payment and all that. But for them to be able to do it, they must have other people who are the only problem with people like Hushpuppi is because of the background where he's coming from. You know, when you make that kind of money, he wants everybody to know that, oh, I've arrived.
All right.
And he made a lot of noise.
Thank
but there
you,
are
Mayor.
people that are making the kind of money he's making, and you don't know them.
Thank you, Mayor. We drop it there for the moment. Solomon, in taking this home, it's a crying shame in the 21st century. So when the president said not too long ago that some, not most, some of our youths just believe in reclining.
No, it's coming home. It's just that sometimes some of the real words, when you have to say it blandly and directly, people say you are not diplomatic.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a sweeter way the president could have said it, but it was a stark reality that the president talked about when he said some of those issues. Now, for someone to defraud people of 168 billion naira, that's mind-boggling, citizen. That's mind-boggling. Now, he said they make such huge money. No, I said they steal, not make. They don't make.
Don't lose
they
your
steal.
cool.
No, wait, citizen.
Right.
They steal. Now, this is just, the internet fraud is just one leg. He mentioned Yahoo. Now, Yahoo is also a bit different from just the internet fraud because that one has ritualistic elements. So these are things that we really need to address. We
leave it there for now. A word, as always, will be enough for the wise. Solomon, let me thank you very kindly, and we'll take this breather and come back and deal with the last story. Please don't go. All right then, welcome back. You know, it's said that every good thing will come to those who wait, even while he hustles. Liverpool Football Club in England had to wait 30 long years to nick the Premiership title, and what a wait that was. The victory of the Reds was a matter of time. The humbling of defending champions Man City by Chelsea yesterday quickened it. Going clear of others with a 23-point margin speaks to the hard work put in by the footballers, and most especially the sweat merchant Jurgen Klopp, who crossed over to England to make a difference. It's joy unlimited for the Cops and Liverpoolians, right? Yes. So we are joined by me and Akiri. He's been following it.
Good to be
and not to forget that Solomon also will talk sports.
Definitely.
Okay then, so 30-year wait, not because they never wanted to win. Look at the likes of Steven Gerrard, and all those icons of the club. It's waited.
It's been a long wait, for Liverpool and their fans. If you take a look at this phase, for Liverpool, you would realize that in 1998 precisely, Liverpool had, this experiment of having two managers to manage the club. They had, a Roy Evans and a Gerard Houllier. At that point in time, they had a fantastic Czech player, Patrick Berger. They had, the likes of McManaman and Robert Fowler and a host of players. And there was also a certain Michael Owen, who was just making his name, young, and they felt he's got pace, and this will probably be one of those moments Liverpool win the league title. It didn't happen.
Why?
2004.
Why?
Well, at that point in time, they were not making the necessary signings, despite having, this quality talent. And sometimes you want to talk about having this team that gels together. Liverpool in Europe at some point in time were getting the job done, but in the Premier League, it was a different ballgame entirely. Not because they were not good enough. I give an example, 2004, 2005. Rafael Benitez, restored that belief once again in Liverpool by winning the UEFA Champions League. But yet, the Premier League title, eluded them.
Yeah.
And close to 2008, when they were giving United a run for their money, they had, the likes of Xabi Alonso to complement Steven Gerrard in midfield. You had Fernando Torres up front. And, he was scoring goals at plenty. The world thought Liverpool was going to get it done this time around. Yet again, Liverpool didn't get it done. Not thanks to one of the mistakes in signings that Rafa Benitez didn't get right. That was losing Nemanja Vidic to Manchester United. And Vidic and United coasted home with the Premier League trophy in 2008 once again. Yeah. Now, at a point in time, when Liverpool felt it was going to happen was when Steven Gerrard slipped. That game was against Chelsea.
All right.
It didn't happen. But looking at what has happened, this time around speaks volume of what Jurgen Klopp has brought to the team, and the tradition of having African players definitely winning
So
Premier League trophies.
Jurgen was the magic wand.
It was the wine they needed.
And you know, Solomon also waited with them for this day.
30 years is a very long
Oh,
way.
yeah.
They've never won the Premier League as a Premier League. The man who was the man who attained this level of feat, something close to this for them as a manager, was Kenny Dalglish.
Yeah.
And they had brought him back with the hope, at some point, with the hope that he was coming to,
So
you know,
sometimes it's
recreate
about
that.
the man, the sweat merchant, sometimes, right?
Well, you see, football is mathematics. Now, people say it's not mathematics. When Ernesto Okonkwo said that, I understand. He's a historian. But we need to understand that, first and foremost, science has shown that football is mathematics, although it has its margin of errors. And it is where a level of science meets art. So there will always be a margin of error. So you are talking about the coach. The coach's playing philosophy. The way he deploys men, proportionate.
At crucial times.
The way he deploys men who are what you call the unit of the factor of production on the field to the mathematical space that you have there, and the quality of those players, those men that he deploys, matters a lot.
So after 30 years, they are here.
Yeah.
How do you take it home? Bury it now.
Well, you must give it up to Jurgen Klopp, like we said. In the past, Liverpool have relied on individual players, so to say. At some point in time, they over-relied on Luis Suarez. At some point in time, they thought it was going to be Steven Gerrard. But it didn't happen. But Jurgen Klopp had something different.
Fernando Torres?
Fernando Torres, it didn't happen. But now Jurgen Klopp has been able to work on this team. You know, now you have an array of stars up front who can get the goals for you, and they score double figures. During the era of Thierry Henry, Ruud van Nistelrooy and co, you need a player who would score at least 25-30 goals in a season. But the likes of Salah and Mane can indeed give you 40 goals a season. Okay. So, which has been the turning point for Jurgen Klopp.
You know, I want to be ambitious, and you don't blame me. I'm thinking of the guy at Real Madrid. Do you see Liverpool going the hog? Retaining it?
Now, that is the biggest challenge. There is nothing guaranteed. Because if you take a look at where the Premier League is going, Newcastle United are also on the verge, if all things being equal, getting new owners who are richer than Manchester City. In Spain, Real Madrid had the era of the Galacticos, where they could get any player they want.
That's it.
Now, what Jurgen Klopp needs to do is to keep improving the team. And probably, he may not be doing that the right way now. One, losing Timo Werner. The world thought Werner was going to Liverpool, but now he's gone to Chelsea. Now there's the talk of Koulibaly, you know, forming a good partnership in defense line with Van Dijk.
All right.
And we understand maybe going to City.
You
must strengthen the squad.
You know, time is, we can't wait 30 years, you know. This show
Definitely.
must end. But for Solomon and Mian, they're not walking alone now.
No.
Good.
They're not
So good
alone.
for them.
Very good
so
for them.
We share
got the Champions League last season, got the Premier League trophy.
So what more can you
He
ask
came
for?
close to this in Germany some time ago,
Yeah.
and then the season after, it just went downhill. I hope it doesn't happen again.
I hope not. Solomon,
They may not have any
Ajimobi,
motivation
thank
to
you
continue
for your
again.
time. And Mian Akiri, I thank you
Always a
too.
pleasure.
You don't walk alone.
I won't walk alone.
The station, TVC, does not walk alone. That will just about do it for today and the week. We'll take needed weekend rest. We'll be back on Monday. But if you missed this episode, you may watch the program on other platforms. We'll display on the screen and on YouTube at youtube.com /TVC News Nigeria. The feedback channel remains the same. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Bye-bye now.